Today's podcast, I had my good buddy Steve Trang on. For those of you who don't know Steve, he is a real estate investor, brokerage owner, sales trainer, serial entrepreneur. We actually use his sales training at my company, Home Run Offer, and I wanted to have him on to talk about sales and how people can start learning to be better salespeople and get more deals in real estate, but also realize that sales apply to everything you do in life. And we kind of talked about this as the conversation went on about social media and how you are always selling something whenever you're creating content. It's just a matter of, how well you disguise it and why the best marketers are the ones who you don't even realize are marketing to you. We also go over what it was like for him growing up in an Asian household and, telling his parents that he didn't want to be an engineer, that he was going to leave these jobs at Intel and, these big software companies to go do his own thing and pursue real estate and what it's like just going through that family trouble. Lastly, and this is probably my favorite part, we talk about what it was like on his journey, how 9 years in, he finally found what the best use for his skill set was, and how he got into podcasting and eventually doing sales training. And I think it's a great reminder for anyone who is currently trying to figure out what they want to do, that you can be successful in anything. It's just a matter of figuring out what is the best use for your skill set. So this podcast is great for anybody who's trying to figure that out, as well as get better at getting deals. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Are you looking to grow your real estate investing business? My company, Future Flipper, can help. We've taught hundreds of people all over the country how to flip, wholesale, and buy rental properties. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your investing journey. Whether you're trying to get your first deal or scale your company, Future Flipper can help. We have courses, coaching, and events for all levels of investors. So if you want to take the next step, go to futureflipper.com and book a free consultation to see how we can best help you. Once again, that's futureflipper.com. If you've ever wanted to invest with me on my real estate deals, it's now possible. At Pineda Capital, we're purchasing value-add real estate all across the country. This includes multifamily, commercial, and land development. The best part is, with my network, social media presence, and marketing strategies, we're able to get the very best deals that others don't have access to. You can join in with me on those deals if you're an accredited investor. If you want to learn more, head over to pinedacapital.com to see our current opportunities. Once again, that's pinedacapital.com. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest.
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
Innovate.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
And inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, I've got the guy who is usually interviewing me. I've been on his podcast 3 times now, and it's good to get him finally on mine. This guy, anytime he hits me up, I come on his podcast, but getting him on has been much harder, but it's all good, baby. I got Steve Trang today. What's up, man?
Not a whole lot, man. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So how's Vegas going?
Vegas is good. It was a simple flight. Didn't tell my wife I was coming until last night, so that was interesting. But,
yeah.
Communication. I teach it, but it's not one of my strengths.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. So, yeah, man, I'm excited to finally get you on as a guest. I know that you run a very successful podcast called Real Estate Disruptors. By being on your show, I can tell you it's led to a lot of great things for me, dude. I think, honestly, by being on your show, it's probably made me over $1 million.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
So I appreciate you.
I can put you down as one of the millionaires.
You can, sure. So
awesome.
We'll put you as, it's for those of you who don't listen to Real Estate Disruptors, Steve's mission that he says at the start is to create 100 millionaires.
Absolutely. Yep.
Do you have any idea how many you think you might have helped create?
So we don't have a hard number yet. I mean, it's easily double digits.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, between the DMs, the people I know interacted with that have mentioned it to me, 20 plus.
Nice.
If I had to guess.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, it didn't make me a millionaire, but it's made me $1 million. So we'll count it. I don't know how the tallying is going.
I'll pad the stats. It's fine.
Yeah. So no, it's really cool, man. And I just remember when you first came out with the podcast, listening to it, and I was like, this is really cool. It's a lot different than all the other podcasts out there for real estate. You were asking tough questions, and I just thought you were a great host, man.
Thank you.
Getting guests, getting A-level guests, asking the right questions, digging deep into their business. I think you were kind of one of the best to do it.
Well, I appreciate that. It was really fortunate that I am in the Phoenix market. So when the goal is to create, a show around wholesaling, I'm in the right market to get A-level talent to come into the show without having to make it a big deal about flying in.
Right.
So the first 7 guests all lived in Phoenix. That was really convenient.
Yeah. So then Vegas and Cali, and it's easy trip.
Yep.
But dude, tell everybody who doesn't know you. Obviously, you're a podcast host. What else you do?
So I wear a whole bunch of different hats. So I got the brokerage, got the title company, got the education component, wholesaling, flipping, have an app. I actually just recently got acquired. Our app got acquired by another company. Let's see what else is there. Just started investing into apartments. So, I mean, just that whole classic serial entrepreneur, I fall into that category.
Yeah. But what were you doing before all that?
So before all that, I did, growing up, mom and dad always said you can be anything you want as long as it's a lawyer, doctor, or dentist, right? That's that whole Asian thing. And growing up, engineer wasn't on the table yet, but all my cousins grew up to become engineers. And so when I didn't know what I wanted to do, I did engineering by default because I was good at math.
Okay.
And so, did engineering, went to ASU, did well there. And then I graduated around 2002, which was not a great time, right? It's after the 9/11 and the dot-com bust. So I went to grad school. I was actually a PhD candidate at UC San Diego. I was actually recruited by UCLA, which no one talks about recruiting for academics. They always talk about it for sports. So I was actually getting flown to these other colleges to go through their graduate programs.
Wow.
But I went to UCSD, got my master's degree in a year and a half, and used that for all of 3 years before I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Wow. Very cool. So you're also playing some poker.
Yeah. So when you're an engineer, Tony Robbins talks about how we all want there's 6 different things we want, but one of them is variety and the other one's consistency. And there's no variety in engineering, right? Like every day is pretty much the same. It's kind of like Office Space. And so in order to get that variety, I would go play poker. So
Right.
I cut my teeth at the casinos, always cleaned up in the local rooms. And I fly into Vegas to see how good I was at. And I donated to the Vegas community. So
There you go. Thank you.
There's like at least 2 or 3 light bulbs that I think have my name on it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you realize, man, poker's a pretty tough thing.
It's tough.
It's a grind, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also, I still enjoy it. Every time I come, well, except for this time, but every other time I come, spend several hours at the table just for fun.
Yeah. What are you playing? 2-5? 1-2?
So the last time I was playing 2040 no limit.
You were playing 20-40?
That was the only table that was open. So
Jeez, dude.
Yeah.
What is the buy-in to play 20-40? Like to have a
I
chance.
think I bought in for 2,000.
Dude,
So-
you'll go through your blinds in like an hour
So
max.
that's all I had on me.
Yeah.
I brought 2,000 to lose, and
You were pretty much going all in pretty quick.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I walked away up like a few $100, and then they closed the table. So
There you
whatever.
go.
Yeah.
So, you get into real estate, man. You've got a brokerage. How many agents you guys got now?
So we're about 90.
90 agents. You got a wholesale company, and you've got a sales training company.
Yep.
And I know with your sales training company, it is very good. We use you guys for our sales training at Home
Appreciate
Run
the
Offer.
business.
Yeah. So, like, how'd you get into all that?
So one of the things that's been to my advantage, crazy as it may seem, is I sucked at sales for a very long time. And so because
Well, you're an engineer.
exactly.
You don't strike me as like the slick sales guy.
Exactly. So because I was so terrible at sales, I had to learn all the different facets of sales, really study it, And because I've been able to study it, I actually understand what makes a great salesperson great. Like most business owners tend to be naturally good salespeople, right? They're charismatic, they're extroverted, and so on. They can turn on the charm when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any of those things.
Okay.
But I could identify, after studying it for all these years, what makes a good salesperson good. And that once we've learned all these different methodology, techniques, strategies, and so on, now we can teach it. And now we can take anybody who's not good at sales and turn them into good salespeople. And anyone that's naturally good at sales, we can turn them basically to megastars.
So That's an interesting point. One thing I've always said is like, for me, when I go hire salespeople, we always give them personality tests, and I want to get people who are natural salespeople. But you're here saying we can make anyone a good salesperson.
We can make anyone a salesperson, a good salesperson. Yes.
But do you think everyone should be a good salesperson?
I think if they believe in the product, anyone can be a great salesperson, right? If they believe in the product, if they believe in the service, the challenge, right, is that we all our default buying style, our default selling style is the way we buy. So there are some people that are going to have a hard time if they've always thought about every single decision all their lives. They're going to have a hard time changing unless they change their buying behavior. And then that's a whole nother level of commitment that they have to, buy into.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So what do you think, like, you're doing different than these other sales systems that makes your, the way you're training people unique? And how long do you think it takes somebody to become a good salesperson?
Become a good salesperson, probably 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
A great salesperson, longer than that. The biggest difference, there's two of them. I've been punched in the mouth for a very long time in the sales. Like I said, I sucked at sales for a very long time.
Right.
So I've dealt with the objections. I've dealt with the challenges. All the different objections. I've heard it.
Right.
Right. So I think the first thing is that what we're teaching is what we're actively using in the living room today.
Right.
The second thing is I've been incredibly blessed. I didn't plan it this way. I didn't expect this to happen. But you and I are both in Collective Genius, and I'm the preferred sales trainer in Collective Genius.
Right.
And because I'm working with all of those mega stars, not only am I teaching, I'm also learning from them too. Right. So we've created this mini sales mastermind, or a sales mastermind, where not only am I teaching what's effective for us in Phoenix, but I'm learning here are some other things that they'll use. Right. How we create scarcity in Phoenix is different than how they would create scarcity in Virginia.
Right.
Right. The objections you have over in our market with we don't run into attorney objections, generally speaking, right?
Right.
They run into attorney objections in the eastern part of the country. So learning from other teams as well, when you're teaching people, when you're teaching high-level people, you have to get better. And so I say that's the other component, too, that's made us great.
Right, right. So you guys are just getting different perspectives on different issues. One thing that I've been thinking about a lot is, like, obviously Home Run Offer used to be the only business I was really focused on, and developing salespeople for talking to sellers. And now, we have sales teams for Lunar. We have, selling them on stores. We have sales teams for Future Flipper, selling them on education. Even at Pineda Capital, people think that, that's just people come and invest. Like, well, no, dude, you got to sell them on giving you their money. Like, dude, they worked hard for it, and they got objections of why they should place their money with you.
Absolutely.
So what do you think are some things we would go through? Like, let's just use Pineda Capital for an example. Like, a lot of real estate investors, they're trying to raise money, to do flips, and maybe some are buying big apartments. Like, what are some objections we might receive?
I think some of the objections you're going to get if you're trying to raise capital is like, how do I know my money's secure? Why should I go with you versus anybody else? When am I going to get my money? I'll go. That's not really an objection. That's just really Q&A. So I think the biggest one's probably how do I know my money is safe, and why should I give it to you when there's no shortage of people asking me for money?
Right.
I think those are probably the two biggest objections.
So they're worried about the risk, and then they're worried, or I guess the risk and the reward.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep it safe, and how big can you really grow it?
Right. Yeah, and I think depending on the the size of the investment, right? The bigger the money, they might be more concerned about the security. The smaller the money, they're going to care more about the return.
Right.
I would imagine, right? Like the 12% is really important if you got 100K, but if you got like 5 million, is 12% as important as
Safe. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Or, I've seen this objection too of like depreciation. Like some people aren't even necessarily so concerned about any of that. They're like, dude, I got a tax problem. How much depreciation can you get me?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's I think that's as an education conversation. But I think the other thing too is we always want to, when we're talking about buying homes, we're always talking about the pain and what they're experiencing and so on. We're talking about education or investing. Like, let's talk about the upside. What you're trying to accomplish. What are your goals? It's not just like invest 100K or $1 million with me today. It's like you're going to invest 100K or $1 million with me. Potentially in the next 5-10 years, what is that, and after 5 or 10 years, what do you want this to look like? What's the ideal outcome for you? So looking at gain and upside, satisfying their dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, you do those same things with, education sales too. It's like, what are you trying to accomplish out of this, right?
Right.
Like, what, are you trying to quit your job? You trying to make $1 million? Like, what's the goal?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll share with you, my wife and I go to Massage Envy, and I'm just thinking through, this is terrible because the brain doesn't stop. As we're going through, she's like, how do you want the massage? What's the pressure, whatever? What I was thinking as I was going through it, because she was terrible. It's like, what I wanted her to ask was like, what does the ideal outcome look like? I want to walk out of here without a single knot in my body.
right.
Right. That's the goal here. I don't want to relax. I don't want, when I leave here, it's not about relaxation. This is what I want.
Right.
So I think that all of us, like, hey, what do you want out of this? Describe the ideal outcome, and then we can cater a solution to that.
Yeah, I think that's such a different way of thinking, because so many people want to know the process of what's going to happen next, right? Like, so what's the first step? What's the second step, right? Like, what are we about to do? And that's the wrong question. The question is, where are we going, right? Like, what's the end outcome that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so when people ask me, they're like, but I don't know how it's going to be like this way or that way or tomorrow. And I'm like, doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. Okay. We'll figure that out later, but I have to know where we're going, right? Like, what do you want out of all this? I ask that all the time when people are like, should I get into single family? Should I go in an internship? Should I do multifamily? I'm like, dude, what do you want? Like,
Right.
what's your goal? Do you want to own 1,000 units? Do you want to just make $1 million next year? Do you want, like, what's the goal? Because all those paths will lead to different things. And it just is a matter of what you want. And most people just aren't even clear on what they want.
That's the unfortunate reality. But if we can figure out what you want, and then at that point, we can figure out whether we can give you that solution. We can give you a solution that caters that. If not, we'll just tell you, look, we're not the ones for you, but here's some other people that can help you with that.
Right. So I think that's great. I think just for any business or anyone who's in real estate, keep the outcome in mind. If you can sell people on the outcome, they'll take the steps to get to the outcome. Yeah. If they really want it.
One of the things I get a lot, because I'm also, the licensed realtor on top of buying houses. And they're like, well, how do you approach the homeowner when you're a realtor? It's like, well, ask them what they want.
Yeah.
Like, do you want the most amount of money? Let me show you how you do that. Are you trying to get this closed in 14 days? Let me show you how we do that. But everyone's trying to start prescribing right off the bat. And really, like, let's figure out what the prospect wants. Once we figure out what the prospect wants, at that point, we can figure out if we can cater a solution for them.
Right. Yeah, I always tell that to all of our sales guys and just people in general. They're like, okay, so I'm going to go offer him this. And I'm like, where did that come from? Why are you offering him that? Oh, well, I think it's a great place to start. I'm like, we don't even know what this guy wants. Like, how can we just go throw an offer without knowing what's important to him?
Exactly.
You know, there's so many, just in real estate, there's so many pieces to the offer that are important. Like, we assume price is it, but it's not. Like, we assume that closing quick is what they want, but what if it's not?
Yeah.
What if they want to lock in a price today to be certain that they're going to get it 6 months from now?
Yeah.
Right?
If they're building a house, they want to know in 9 months is the offer still going to be good.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they wanted.
Yeah. They don't care. And they know the market's going up, and they're okay with that. They want the certainty of what the offer's going to be.
Exactly.
Right? And then you build the offer around that. Like, okay, you know what? We're going to guarantee this offer. We're going to put a non-refundable earnest money so you know that the offer is good. And you can structure it that way to get what you want.
Exactly.
Which is the lowest price.
What's interesting as well is, I've got a brokerage, right? Again, almost 100 agents. And, one of the things I'm really proud of is we have almost 1% market share. I'd coach our agents, like, everyone's always like pitching like 6% listings. And I was like, why are you starting at 6%? And they're like, well, that's just normal. It's like, but does the seller care what commission they pay, right? If the seller has an issue with how much commission you're charging, you can negotiate it then. But we start at 7. We don't start at 6. And some people will be like, well, 7's too much. Like, well, what do you think is fair? It's like, I heard 6. Okay, fine, we'll do 6. But if you're always at 6 and they're like, well, 6 is too much, then what's the next step? 5.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but so many of our realtors are so insistent that price is the single most thing, right? The commission, when really they just want to know, like, their home's going to be sold in 30 days, 60 days. It's going to be shown well. They got marketing effectively, and so on.
Right.
So, but we all think price is the most important when consistent survey after survey says price is never the most important thing.
Yeah. For most people, they're not calling around to wholesalers and flippers if price was.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like,
Definitely not.
no, they're just like, hey, I'm going to hire a realtor. I'm going to get the cheapest person, like whatever, right? Like, you do know when somebody is so price focused.
Yes.
They have no emotion about it. They're just like, I don't care. Like, freaking, this is going to make me the most money. This is what I'm doing.
Right.
So, yeah. And even me, like, people would think like, oh, if you're a savvy business person, then price is the most important thing to you. Profit, trumps all. And I'm like, no. Like, I pay people more because I don't care. Like, I don't want to deal with problems.
Well, as a matter of fact, you showed me earlier, like you asked me how I flew. It's like, oh, I flew American, right? He's like, oh, did you check out JSX yet? Like, what's that?
Yeah.
And he showed it to me. He's like, wow, for $50 more, I can fly private.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have to go through TSA.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay a parking garage.
Yep.
None of that. I could just pull up to the plane. So even if it was twice as much, even if it was 5 times as much, it would make sense.
Yeah.
But it's only $50 more. Like, price is not the most important thing. If price was the most important thing, we'd all be driving Geo Metros.
Yeah. The old Geo Metro, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind with anyone who's in business. Like, we think that price is, and price is just a piece of the offer, So it's like, don't think that price is the almighty by any means. Like, the only way to find out, you got to ask them, what is, right? And a lot of people too, they may not know. And so you have to kind of go through the process of helping them figure out what is important to them.
Yep, exactly.
They got to do some soul searching.
Help them with the soul searching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guided soul searching. Hey, there's a reason therapists are so big. That's all they do. Like, it's not like the therapist is the one. Well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't had a therapist, but from what I know, they help guide you to the answer.
Well, what's funny is that if you look at, going back to, talking about geeking out in sales, as all the stuff we talk about in sales is all rooted in psychology.
Right.
Right. It's all taken just from studying how psychiatry works.
Right.
Taking the future and having them feel the future emotions, right, to compel someone to take action. I mean, when you're fixing someone through therapy, you're having them experience the emotions and then convincing them to take the necessary action to fix it so they don't experience those emotions anymore.
Right.
It's the same thing as sales.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because I've never had sales training until recently, but I was always a good salesperson. Like, it
goes back to entrepreneurs tend to be
yeah,
naturally good salespeople.
It was just a natural thing. Like, and I realized over time I had to sell people on my dreams and my vision to like, hey, come join me on this, right? There's no proof that this exists. I'm selling you on the dream, right?
Yeah. We don't know for sure we're going to make it, but we're going to do everything we can.
Yeah. And you believe that like my vision is good and I have to sell you on that. Like, if I'm unsure of my vision, I'm like, dude, I don't know. It might work, but
I'm not working for you.
No, you're like, dude, this guy, he did not sell me, right? But we don't realize that everything is sales. It's funny. I had a guy in the comments. He was just talking crap. He's like, you're always selling crap, and you need to like learn stuff, and quit being a pitch things, and this guy, this so and so doesn't pitch, and you need to be like more like them. And I was like, fool, do you realize you are always being pitched, whether you know it or not? You're just too dumb to know that this guy's pitching you.
Right.
When somebody tells you to like a post, they're pitching you to like it. If somebody tells you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, they're doing the same thing. All the free stuff that you think that they're doing is a sales pitch to make them money. By you subscribing to my channel, I make money. By you signing up for that free affiliate or signing up for a newsletter, it's going to make money. Okay? It may not be direct as, hey, buy my course that has this price. Like, and so I guess to the dumb person, you may only be able to associate people selling when there's an actual price associated with it. But the reality is the sneakiest salespeople are the ones you don't know are selling you.
Yeah, you got those landing pages, right, where it's like 6. You have to scroll through it a whole bunch.
Great
right?
copy.
And they got all this copy, and they're pulling your heartstrings and this and that, and you're getting sold. It just doesn't look like you're getting sold.
Well, no, you're just too dumb to know you're being sold, right? But if you have awareness because you understand, like, ain't nobody writing all this copy for free.
No, they're getting paid very well to write that copy.
Yeah, dude. Like, just take a reality pill and accept the way the world is. Like, dude, I'll freaking.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the one, because it's that line, right? Like, how much do I want to pitch? How much do I want to ask? But, the more I've matured as a business owner, and the more I've done this, the more I realize, like, if we don't do it, like, I've had people walk up to me at events like, Steve, I had no idea you had a coaching program.
Exactly.
Right. And they're like, if I had known you had a coaching program, I wouldn't have blown my money on this other guy. It's like,
yep.
How do I feel now? Is like, I could help this person, and B, they invested whatever money they had and got no results.
Right.
Right. Knowing that I could help them. So,
but you didn't do a good enough job of selling.
I did not.
You didn't make people aware of how you could help them.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think for the guy that's really upset about it, I mean, the reality is everyone has a short attention span. If we're not going to keep talking about ourselves, no one's going to do it for us.
No one is. Steve ain't over on Real Estate Disruptors like, dude, Ryan's got the best stuff. Like, you need to, every day, he's like, just go sign up for Ryan's stuff. Like, it doesn't happen. Have you ever wanted to invest in real estate, but you didn't have the time to find deals yourself? That's where Fundrise comes in. Fundrise is a crowdfunding platform that has transacted over $5 billion in real estate and has over 150,000 active investors. While many funds, like my own, require accredited investors, Fundrise allows anyone to invest with as little as $500. If you'd like to learn more, check out fundrise.com. Once again, that's fundrise.com. Are you looking to find off-market real estate deals? One of the best tools my team uses is Batch Leads. With Batch Leads, you're able to pull data, manage lists, and send text messages. On top of that, you can get nationwide access to the MLS to get pictures and comps. My team has used Batch Leads to get some of our best deals, so I know it works. If you want to start today, you can get half off your first month by going to batchleads.io and using the promo code Ryan. Once again, that's batchleads.io, promo code Ryan for half off your first month. Now, back to the show. But yeah, I'm with you, because I used to have this fear too. Like, I didn't want to be that pitching guru guy, and I started to think like, oh man, well, I mentioned this like last week on Instagram stories. Like, if I mention it again, those people are just like, dude, this guy needs to stop. Mm-hmm. And then I was just like, dude, how self-absorbed am I to think that these people are watching every single thing that I post, and that they're going to remember because, that pitch I made was just so important.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Not only are they not going to remember, I mean, they're so, between the algorithms maybe showing your content.
Yeah, they might have seen it.
And B, we've got so much going on in our own lives. We have no idea what's going on outside. Like, one of the things I share is the last time you spilled like a mustard or ketchup on your shirt, you went to Carl's Jr., right? Like, how many people noticed that mustard stain on your shirt? Nobody noticed it, right?
No one.
But we're like, oh my God, everyone's going to see it.
Yeah.
We're so self-conscious.
Yeah.
But no one cares about what's going on in our worlds.
No. And that's what made me realize of like, dude, nobody is like thinking the way I think about myself and how people are viewed. Like, dude, in the end, like, people are worried about freaking so much more than what I'm saying or doing.
They got bigger problems.
Yeah. And so,
especially that guy.
No, but like, that was something I had to get over. And once I realized that, you know what, people just, they need to know, I think I can help them. And also too, there's a good chance that the people did not see it yet. And so even if I did promote it every day, there's a good chance that there's someone that's the first time they ever saw it. Mm-hmm. They never knew that I had to promote every day in order for them to see it.
Right.
So it's just like marketing with sellers, right? It's like, dude, ain't nobody complaining because I run this commercial so many times, right? Like, you just have to run it that many times in order for someone to see it.
Yeah. Well, we're mailing, I don't know what 15,000 gets us. I think about 10,000 pieces a month in Phoenix. And no one responds. Not no one. Like 1 to 2% of people respond. And then 98% ignores it.
Right.
Until the right time occurs. Except for this one person. Always replies back and calls Max a Nazi. It's hysterical.
Quit mailing me.
Yeah. But that one guy is that guy that's, calling you out, right? You got that one guy who's never going to be happy with anything.
Yeah.
Right? So we just disregard them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. The comments are funny, dude.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, like 99% of the time I don't ever respond, but sometimes I just do, just for fun. And then it's funny because like, it's always like a response where you can't even respond back to me because it's just like, I just try and end it right there. I'm like, this is how dumb you sound. Like, let me just put it in perspective.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah. And then, yeah, whatever. So anyways, dude, let's talk about other stuff. Sales are cool. I like sales.
So you were surprised earlier when I was talking about how we have market share in Phoenix. It seemed like, at least.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing I do a really lousy job of as well, right? Because we were talking about this beforehand, me, you, and Nick, is we don't really push the brokerage a lot.
No.
But we still have about 1% market share. And, one of the things is we don't have a ton of agents. But the agents that we have are top producers.
Right.
And I think one of the things that's been really fortunate, and I think you've got the same thing going on for you as well, right? The more success you have in one area, you're going to attract other people that enjoy success. Whatever vehicle it is, they want to be around you.
Right.
And so for us, I had a lot of success early on in my career on the realtor side, and we've been able to bring people on, right? And they've stuck with us. Actually, I take that back. Some of them have gone. They didn't like the direction we were going as a brokerage, which made no sense to me. But yeah, we've got, people that are doing really well. As a matter of fact, one of the guys in our office is doing 30 plus transactions a month.
That's crazy.
And he got this account just from a hedge fund that reached out to us, or they actually was referred to me, and they looked me up. My stats like Steve Trang doesn't do anything. It's like, yeah, that's true, right? So, but they looked at me, it's like, okay, well, Steve sucks, but here's some other agents that are doing really well. So they just went with our top agent, and they're buying 30 houses a month through that one agent.
That's tight.
Yeah.
Proximity, dude.
Yeah.
He's in the right place. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, no, and that goes back to, are you promoting, your stuff good enough? Yeah, dude, I think about this all the time, and there is a fine line between, making sure that you're giving enough value so you're not just always promoting. Like, nobody wants the guy who's just like, I'm the best, freaking new record, we got a new thing happening. Yeah. At the end of the day, people want to know what's in it for them.
Right.
Like, that's the whole point of content. I tell people this all the time. You don't make the content that you want to make. You make the content that your audience wants to hear. Like, that's how you...
That's like the biggest lesson, right? People are like, I want to write a book. And like, well, no one cares about your story, right? Like,
yeah.
Write a book that everyone wants to read.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think about that all the time. And, part of getting the audience to listen is by providing credibility, right? So there is this mix of, hey, I want to give you value, but here's why you should listen.
Yeah.
And you have to have both. You can't just be like, here's value, because you can get all these people like, who is this guy? Like, why would I even listen to him? And then you got the other end of the spectrum where there's the guy just always yapping his mouth about how great he is. And you're like, I hate this guy. Like,
yeah. No, there's definitely a balance for sure.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things too is, we were talking earlier, a lot of people that are listening to your show are entrepreneurs.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things we were talking about earlier about, my path is that I did the good grades in school, and mom and dad said that not only am I going to get a good job and have a career in engineering, but they shared with me, I've got 5 younger brothers. If anything should happen to them, I'm responsible for making sure these other 5 go to school and get good jobs. And when they retire, I'm responsible for taking care of them because I'm the oldest son, right? Like, that's just the way it is in
Asian culture, man.
And I think that a lot of people right now may not necessarily have this burden, but they're going to school and they're thinking like, we've been programmed, indoctrinated our whole lives that you're going to go get good grades, go to college, graduate college with whatever amount of student debt necessary to graduate college,
right?
And then go get a job. And that's the path for your whole life. And you and I are clearly showing like that is not the only path. And it was hard for my parents in 2007 to watch me take this path. I think it's a lot easier today, but I just want everyone that's watching you don't have to follow a predefined path.
Yeah. I had Jaspreet from Minority Mindset on the podcast a little while back. And he was talking about that, the Middle Eastern culture, just like what it was like for him. He was, I think he's a lawyer, and he quit like day one. And, his parents and stuff, everyone in his community just looking down on him as like this guy. And then obviously he's now doing very good. But it's just interesting, like these cultural things that we have to break through. And, as Asian parents, like you said, or Middle Eastern parents, they're very big on prestige. And
by the way, my son is playing at this concert hall.
Yeah.
Or my son is president's list or dean's list or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's always that comparison game.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting, man, because I grew, my dad's Filipino and my mom's white, and my parents always just told me like, be what you want to be, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And that was to be a baseball player, and I had success in it, and so like my parents did get to brag, like Ryan, he's just got a scholarship, just got drafted, all these things. But I don't think they ever looked at it that way. It's not like they were tied to a community. I never had this Asian community where we were competing against everyone in our community. It was never like that.
So I had that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not only was it always like, hey, you got to be like Cousin Richard or Cousin Wayne, whatever that's doing this, then I was that one. For everyone in the family, you got to be like Steve. You got to go.
Steve's made it.
Steve's made it, right? Like, I got to, not only did I get to go to ASU with a full ride, I got to go to UC San Diego with a full ride. They paid me to go there, right? When we were getting recruited. And to I've all these years, like, be like Steve, be like Steve, be like Steve. And then Steve, like,
Steve fell off, dude. Let Steve be a lesson.
Don't be like Steve anymore. So.
Yeah. There's an example of what not to do.
So, but yeah, I think anyone that's got this mindset or don't follow this predetermined path. I think the other thing too is a lot of people in the wholesaling world is I think we're attracting different minorities as well, and I think there's that disenfranchised component. I think there are a lot of people that are getting into this business because that path that we were supposed to follow as the good Asian kids was not necessarily available in other demographics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of people that are also attracted to wholesaling. So I think that's what's great is the entrepreneur component is that there's no more fixed path for everybody. I think that the thing I'm most excited with social media is that everyone has an out. Everyone has an option to rise up and not have to follow this crazy school path.
Yeah, you see this with wholesaling a lot. It is very minority heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like, dude, anyone can wholesale. Like, that's the thing, and it's great. And I think you're going to see the world kind of transition that way, especially with, I've noticed it just immersing myself in NFT culture and crypto.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to see all these people, like, from all walks of life, like, dude, I could do this, I could do that. I don't have to grow up and do whatever. Like, I even saw a statistic that people are playing in the metaverse on this game, Axie Infinity. And you've got like kids in Ghana who are making a couple $100 like a week playing this game, and anyone can play it across the world. And like they're making great money where they're at by just playing this game, dude.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's really exciting what the opportunities are available with. I think there's a lot of things with social media we may not like. The addictive component, the censorship component. But we're really opening the eyes to Gen Z, like what is available for out there for them.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see that shift where, you don't have to go to college. You don't have to go for one of these careers. There's like some way easier ways to make money and like way less stress. So speaking of social media, you and I have talked a lot about social media, probably the last year to year and a half. You, me, and Kong are all in a group text together, and we chatted just about different ideas and strategies and all that stuff. And, I've learned a lot from you, well, from both of you, but you about, podcasts and stuff, because you started the podcast, like we talked about like a couple years ago, and it did really good, and you continue to do that. But what are some things that you've learned on the social media space, and like what is your opinion now after being on it and developing a good following?
I think the biggest thing was you got to catch that wave. So one of my regrets was Kong was like busting our butts for a long time. Like, get on TikTok. So we got to ride that wave when it's available. Maybe that's me talking to myself about the metaverse at the moment. But when there's a new avenue, like you got to jump on it. And I did that with Clubhouse, which was a complete bust. By the way.
I knew that was going to be a bust. I'm like, dude, this sucks.
But I think that the lesson here is that, wherever there's a new arena, like, stake your claim as early as possible, right? To when the algorithm's early and they're trying to push everybody. I think that's one lesson. The other thing, too, is, there's so many people that say, well, how do I do it? Or how do I hire somebody? And, like, I think those are such cop-out questions. Because when you want to hire a sales guy, what do? You go hire a sales guy. When you want to get a contractor, what do? You go get a contractor.
Right.
But this idea, like, well, where do I go get a social media person? Like, just go get a social media person.
Right.
Right. Like, how do I pay them? The same way you pay everybody else. Like, it's never about like, how do I do it? It's the same in every other aspect of our business. Who do I hire that can make this happen for me? And
Right.
I think fortunately a lot of people are finally seeing the light. I think you have led that path. Congress led that path. And I think that everyone that is watching this that is not creating content yet should be creating content. And I don't consume any content, right? I don't watch anything. And like, people ask me, what's your favorite podcast? I only listen to Audible.
You're like the Ryan Pineda Show, duh.
Obviously. But I think everyone should be really focused on creating content. And I think that if they wanted to create content, it doesn't take very long to learn how to create content, create excellent content that's viral. I mean, that's a whole different challenge.
Right.
But I don't think that should be the goal. I think the goal should be creating content consistently until you learn how to create your own voice.
Right. So for a guy like you, right, you started out as an engineer, introvert guy. I don't think you came into this like, dude, I need to go create content, you know? And you start a podcast before I started a podcast, before I started a YouTube channel. Like, you were doing YouTube, you were doing these things. So like, to me, it was like, man, you were kind of ahead of it before me. Like, what made you start that podcast and realize like, this is probably important?
I think that I was looking for the next edge. You know, for me, I'm always trying to be on cutting edge, you know, trying to be innovative. And so if I see there's an opportunity to gain an advantage, I'm going to test that advantage and see if this does something for me. And it did, right? But I also gave myself permission to fail. You know, I said, I'm going to go create 10 episodes, and if it bombs, like, the good news, no one will notice that it bombed.
Yeah.
Right?
No one watched.
Yeah, no one watched. You know, mom saw it 5 times. We got 5 views on YouTube. We're good.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that we're always testing new things. And I think you're a testament to this as well, right? We're always, you know, does this work? Does this work? And if it doesn't work, then, you know, we don't pour any more resources into it.
Right.
But yeah, I think my intent was just to test it, see if it has any legs. And thank God I did, because starting that podcast was the best thing I ever did for my career.
Right.
You know, and I tell my wife all the time, like, looking back, like, you know, having a brokerage and all these other things, like, they were there, but they weren't creating the lifestyle we have today.
Mm-hmm.
And
the podcast was.
The podcast is what changed everything. And like, I got opportunities to say it. Like, you know, we got acquired by InvestorLift. Why? Because I have that podcast. It's not, I mean, we have the app, right? We created the app, OfferFast, but they weren't like, man, Steve's a threat. They were looking at the app and like, okay, well, this is a reason to acquire him, right? And so I think more opportunities are available because we're active on social media.
Right.
Right. I mean, I've shared with the team, you know, we only have 77,000 followers on TikTok. This is ridiculous, guys. We got to get to 100 so we can sell out. So I can say that this video is brought to you by Bang Energy Drinks or whatever.
There you go.
That's the goal. But
yeah,
I think opportunities are available to you. If you're not out there, why would anyone reach out to you about opportunities, about partnership opportunities?
They wouldn't even know to reach out to you.
Yeah. Right. You could be secretly successful, wildly successful. And if that's what you want, that's great.
Right.
Right. But I am trying to take over the world. I don't know why, but I am. And I can't do that if no one knows who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if Gary Vee says this, but somebody always says, like, the currency you want is not dollars or Bitcoin or anything. The currency is attention.
Yeah.
If you have attention, you can do a lot of stuff with attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I've become a testament to that. Like, the more views I get, the more, you know, watch time and all these things, directly, I just see my business's revenues grow. I see opportunities present themselves that would not have otherwise presented themselves. And I'm like, there is a correlation between views and money. Attention.
Direct proportion. The other thing, too, is, you know, I don't think that anyone that's going on social media should try to be someone you're not.
Right.
So I've always been the same person I am in all, you know, different channels and mediums. And the reason why I say that is that I've had multiple people reach out to me afterwards. They're like, hey, we saw you, and we're reaching out to you because we like what you're doing. We've seen what you said, you know, and so on. So they're teaching me and sharing, you know, stuff that they learned because they like my message.
Right.
They resonate with me.
Right.
And if you're trying to be someone else, like if I go on TikTok today and try to be like Kong, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Right. I got to be me. And I think that's really important too for those that are trying to create content is you got to be you. Don't try to be someone that you're not.
Yeah. You know, I had Graham Stephan on the show last week. And, well, by the time this airs, probably been a month ago. Go check that episode out, by the way. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this episode, leave a 5-star review. Might as well. But anyway, so I had him on the show, and I asked him that question. I go, hey, one of the big things I always tell people is don't be like Graham. Don't be like me. Like, think about who you are and be true to yourself and make content around that. Because, you know, if you just try and copy what Graham does, then just watch Graham. Like, what's the point of watching you? Like, why would I watch the fake version when I could watch the real version?
We're going to get the poor man's version of Graham over here.
Yeah. So, like, there's no point. And, you know, we all are unique in some kind of way. And so it's just like figuring out what makes you unique. What are you passionate about talking about, you know, and where can you find, like you said, this little edge that, you know, maybe no one's addressing.
Right. And again, it's kind of how I lucked into sales, right? It was just there was a window that opened itself because of the podcast, because of what I'm doing, and no one's doing it. So fell into that niche. So I think you're going to find that niche eventually one way or another. Yeah.
What made you pick podcasts? Because that's not one that I see many people start at and like build a career off of.
So remember how we said like you do other things that fail?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
So
how many things failed before the podcast?
So I had my blog, right? So Brendan Burchard was on stage at an event. He's like, people need to hear from you. They want to hear your story.
Right.
So you need to write a book, start a blog, or start a podcast.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, okay, well, my blog sucks. No one reads my blog.
Okay.
So scratch that. I wrote a book, right? It wasn't a great book, but I wrote a book.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, right? That went nowhere. So the podcast, like I said, if the thing's bomb, no one notices.
What was your book about, by the way?
I had the books about how to sell your house for top dollar. I mean, it was not like an amazing book. It was not meant to be like this bestseller. It was really just an authority piece, right? Something you should
say you wrote a book.
We wrote a book just to write a book, but there were no New York Times reviews or anything like that. It's just
Can I buy it
Amazon.
on Amazon?
You can definitely buy it on Amazon.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to check it out. What's it called?
Selling Your Home for Top Dollar.
There you go, guys. Go check. Like, you know, the book sucks, guys, but go support Steve. But the book has made you money. I'm sure giving that book to sellers has made them, sell with you.
When you walk into a living room,
right,
and the homeowner has your book on their desk, the top of their desk, you're getting the listing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So the book failed, the blog failed.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, I got one last shot at this or I'm done.
We're going to keep trying, right? And let's say the podcast failed. Then it'd be more IG lives, it'd be more Facebook lives, more TikTok.
Right.
Like I would keep going, right? I mean, I think that's again, talking to the entrepreneurs, it's not, I tried this and I failed. It's over. Is that I'm going to continue trying because this is what I'm passionate about. Like, could you imagine if you went back to, I don't know, I guess baseball may not be whatever corporate world. Did you ever have a corporate job?
I've never had a real job. No.
Okay. Substitute teacher. Like,
I guess that was a real job.
Could you imagine? It's like, all right, I'm going to be a substitute teacher for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's no way I could ever go back to Intel or any other corporation. Like,
right.
So I am going to keep finding my avenue. As a matter of fact, my buddy was convinced at ADD. Like, I have an accountability partner. We've been best friends since 7th grade. We still have our monthly calls. He was convinced I had ADD because I'm always trying something new. And the podcast was like 8-9 years into my career. That was the thing that took off.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, direct mail, that wasn't for content, but, all these different marketing pieces, all the different ways I try to market myself.
Right.
There's direct mail. There's cold calling, texting. Like, there's all sorts of different things. Podcasting was the one that took off.
You know what's interesting, too, is I've realized this over time as I've had more success in different areas, is like most people can be wildly successful in something, right? But they just have to try a ton of things to get there. And like, I've seen that especially true of my employees because I've got some really talented people. Some of them were doing some good things before they worked for me. But the majority of them are doing far better in life after working for me. And I don't say it as like a pat on the back for me, but more of like they're now able to use their talent in a role that is like they're maximizing their talent in their role. And like if they were to leave and go do something else, I'm almost certain that they would probably do worse. And it's not that like they're a worse employee or bad, or it's just like they're in something that really maximizes their talent.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something that like I'm hearing you say is like, you finally figured out like, dude, podcasting is maximizing my talent. I can ask good questions. I don't have to be the one just talking all the time.
I can be introverted.
I can be introverted. I don't have to like be the star.
Yeah.
I can make the guest the star. And, you know, you found how to maximize your talent, and it took 9 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But like,
Exactly.
if you don't find podcasting, you're still the talented guy,
Yeah.
but you're just not known the way you are today. Like your talent
Exactly.
didn't change. You're just, your opportunity and the way you were using your talent changed.
I always laugh at this because, you know, like people see me and they're like, can I take a picture with you? It's like, I'm the same exact human being I was before I started the podcast. As a matter of fact, it's still weird to me when people ask me, you know, can I take a photo of you? Because I'm still an introvert, right?
Right.
But you just got to keep trying as an entrepreneur to find your path, to find the one that gives you the maximum opportunity
For your talent.
for your talent.
Right. Because we all have different talent, right? Like, it's like, dude, freaking, you know, maybe your talent is being a model. And it's like, dude, you just freaking go hard at being a model.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe you're not supposed to be talking on camera because, you know, you don't sound very smart. So, like, just take pictures. But then there are people, you know what? Somebody told me this before. They're like, you got a face for radio. Not to me, but I've heard that joke before. And I didn't understand. I'm like, wait, what? And then I'm like, oh, you got a good voice, but, you know, you're not too easy to look at.
Right.
And then it's just like, well, you could take that as a diss, or you can be like, that's how you maximize your talent.
Yeah. We all have, you know, our unique ability. And, you know, one of the things that for a long time, I went through strategic coach, and one of the things they had to do is like find your unique ability. You know,
Right.
like what's that one thing you can do all day, every day that gives you, that never drains you, right? And you're excellent at it, you know? And for me, what I wrote down was teaching. I was like, well, that's not it. That's not going to make me any money. So I got to do something else. Right. But I think we all have our unique abilities, and we just got to keep finding opportunities where we can thrive with unique abilities. I mean, you got all these different people here, and they all wear different hats, but the hats they wear here
Fit their ability.
fit their ability.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the main point I'm making to anyone listening is like, if maybe you're in a job that you feel like isn't using your talents properly, or, you know, you're not where you want to be, doesn't mean that like you're not talented or that you don't have value. It's just like you're not in the right vehicle for your talents.
Yeah. Well, so you're in Vegas, right? So like, I think you're a great guy, but I don't think you're the one that's gonna be like a cheerleader,
No.
right? So like you're talented in your role, but if we were to take you over to Zappos, you'd lose your mind.
Oh
Right?
my gosh. Yeah.
Like they're throwing paper planes, they're shooting, you know, cannons, whatever. You would go crazy. So like you could be a talented person, just in the wrong environment.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. It's like, I think anyone can be wildly successful if they're just doing the right thing for their talent.
Mhm.
You know, and there's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
It's just try a lot of things. Too many people just don't try.
Yeah. Well, it's easier to just kind of stay home and complain.
Yeah, you're like,
Screw that guy.
I never get any opportunities.
They control you on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Netflix.
Yeah. I mean, that's the sad reality, right? I think that the other component is you not only have to have a unique ability, but you also have to have the tenacity,
Right.
right? The willingness to, you know, fail. One of the things we talk about is, you know, personality types. You have to have a strong ego, because being a business owner, if you decide to go the business route, or entrepreneur route, is you get to encounter failure day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not willing to withstand failure, you're going to have a hard time in
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, for sure. Whereas we look at failure and we're like, didn't work, whatever. What's next?
Yeah. Next challenge.
Yep.
Right. What's the next problem I can solve? What's the next mountain I can conquer?
Right. So speaking of next, like what's next for you at this point?
You know, we're building out our studio. I've put it out there. You know, I want to catch Joe Rogan podcasting. You know, I like that $100 million number. It's a nice round number.
Yeah.
You know, so I want to do that. I put out there, I want to catch Grant Cardone as being the sales guy. So right now we're very specific to real estate sales training.
Right.
But I'd love to get to a point where, you know, it's a sales platform where it doesn't matter what you're selling. We want to teach people how to sell, but we also want to teach people how to sell the right way, right? With integrity,
Right.
and transparency. So the two things that I want to do more of is more sales training and more podcasting.
You know, what's interesting about that is, you know, in your career, you've done a lot of things, but guess what? You found that podcasting was the thing that used your talents the most, and then sales.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I don't really need to try and do some new thing and fail a bunch of times to figure out some new thing that I might be good at.
No, I found the things that I enjoy. I found the things that do well, and I'm going to do more of that. As a matter of fact, Gary Harper, you know, who I don't know if you had on the show yet, but he's counseled me, and he came out 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we did an all-day breakdown of our business, planning for next year. And I actually got fired from all my companies. He says that I'm no longer allowed to be in any of the companies except for visionary and teaching and podcasting. Those are the only things I'm allowed to do. Everything else, I need to leave the people alone. Stop inserting my ideas because I'm just screwing everything up. I'm gunking up the system at this point. Right? I've got good people. Trust in them and stop bothering them.
Are you just a meddler or what? Like, what do you do?
Well, I've got these ideas, right? It's like, hey, what about this? What about that? And I need to stop doing that so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
But isn't that the visionary's role anyway? Just to freaking come up with great ideas and get shot down on 9 out of 10 of them?
Yes, I think, but the challenge is going to be it's the time and place for it, right? So I can still share it, you know, on the way we have it now, right? So we have all these integrators or operators you want to call for each of the companies.
Right.
And once a week, I have a meeting with the leadership team.
Mm.
That's the only people I'm allowed to talk to. I'm not allowed to talk to the acquisition guys. I'm not allowed to talk to the media team on a day-to-day basis. I'm not allowed to talk to the education. Like, once a week, right? I got Larry's running education. I can talk to him once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Summer's running the brokerage. I could talk to her once a week, right? So at that point, we can talk about the vision and ideas. But throughout the week, when they're getting stuff done,
Yeah, don't bother them.
don't bother.
Don't send them a text at 8 in the morning and be like, dude,
Hey, what about this?
my team will tell you that's my main problem, is dude, they don't know when they're about to get a text.
Yeah.
And I got to work better on that. I talk about work-life balance and things like that. And it's true. Like, we don't have to work weekends. Everyone's out by 5, but I do have a hard time containing my thoughts and keeping them to myself. Because I'm like, hey, dude, this is a great idea. Like, you need to know now.
Yeah. So we got to start journaling more or start writing more things down.
Yeah. I don't want to do that, but it's probably for the best, huh?
Yeah. Well, that was a lesson that was beaten into me.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to have Gary come. Gary's already come to my office and helped me to this point, so I just want to give my ideas to everyone. But actually,
everyone needs to hear it.
Yeah, I think actually it's a great thing or a great thing for social media because I can just release all my ideas.
Exactly.
I'm like, hey, I got the metaverse, like whatever. Here's what I think about it. Like if we want to do it, we could do it. And I'm like, here's a new idea I had for marketing. Here's something I'm thinking about doing. And I'll just share my flow of thoughts on social.
You can stream your thoughts on social media.
Yep.
And then on your level 10 meetings, you can like, hey, did you see this post? We're doing that.
Well, to be honest, this year I've not run one level 10 meeting.
Okay.
I don't even know that I've had a meeting with, less than 5 meetings this year.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any meetings with anybody.
So I was still running our meetings, and those are the meetings I'm getting fired from. So I'm allowed to have
Dude, you're gonna love it.
one meeting. I don't know. I like being involved, but
No, I like knowing nothing.
well, that's who I'm going to be in it very shortly.
Dude, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But the problem is it makes you have more ideas.
Yeah, which is going to upset them more.
Yeah.
But I went to Grant Cardone's office last week, and so on the way back, I called Max. Right, Max Jimenez, like, hey, by the way, we're starting a company.
Oh, there you go. What's this new company?
So one thing that I was always inspired by was Marcus Lemonis and the show Profit.
Yeah, great show.
And you and I have had private conversations, right? Like, what if we came along and, took 20, 30% of the company, but we ran the sales, marketing, all these different components.
Right.
So Grant just got space in Scottsdale.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cardone Ventures. And so he had his grand opening last week. We got to walk through his office and see this whole thing. And his plan is to start acquiring companies in Phoenix and have, running their business. All the stuff that we learned from Sharper, right? He's just gonna be doing that, except he's gonna be doing it for equity.
Why Phoenix?
I guess it's an up and coming city as far as like entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurs is very entrepreneurial. Like everyone's moving to Phoenix. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I like that. I think that's kind of the path that most entrepreneurs go on once they've, developed all the skills. It goes back to opportunity, right? So like you spend all these years honing your skills and your talents and all that. And you're like, dude, I know how to run businesses. I know how to run the sales, the marketing, operations, create products.
I know how to hire. I know how to create processes.
Yeah.
Like you know all the things about businesses.
Yeah. And if somebody else has a good idea or a product or a service that they're the expert in, and I can just bring all my stuff, it just creates a winner.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened with Lunar.
Or TrueBooks.
Yeah, or TrueBooks. Like these guys had great products and services, but they didn't have all the other pieces that I already had built up. And it's like, dude, I can just apply what I already have to this.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something that Max and I something I've had on my mind for a while, but now walking through Grant's office, I'm more inspired by it. And I mean, Alex Hormozy, right? I mean, that's all that free content is for one reason. He's creating an audience, gaining attention. It's like, oh, by the way, if you guys need help, go fill this out.
He's not selling, okay? He's just giving free content. There's no sales, according to some people in the comments. It's like, no, like he's selling to guys like me.
Yeah.
He wants to acquire companies like mine so he can use his skills to gain equity and blow the company up.
Yeah.
That's the whole sales pitch.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It's fantastic.
I want, I'm going to get him on the show. I've been fortunate enough to talk to him, but I would not mind having him as a partner because I know he could help blow it up.
Well, I mean, and he's done it so well for so long. I mean, he was in the gym space, which I didn't realize until recently was actually the most competitive space.
I didn't know that.
It's more competitive than real estate. I thought real estate would be more competitive, but
health, man, everybody.
Well, it's not just the health. That's a SaaS model before SaaS was a buzzword.
Right, it's true.
Right,
you get a monthly membership.
Yeah, so that's always been a very lucrative business.
Oh, maybe I'm not going to start a gym. I got enough businesses on my plate, dude. Well, anyways, man, it's been great having you, dude. It always is a blast hanging out. And we'll link to your sales training down below. Guys, we get a special offer on Steve's sales training. So if you use the link below, you're going to get some really cool stuff. So make sure you guys check that out. Steve, we'll link to all your socials as well below so everyone can follow you and listen to Steve's podcast. And make sure you guys leave a 5-star review. Make sure you subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.